When I was looking at Kamala Harris's campaign finances,
Who asks for 30 cents back? Who asks for
I don't
$1?
believe an individual would. What would be the rationale for the fraudulent scheme? If you don't know Mel, you should know her. She's been on the channel once before. Mel, Laura Dern's younger sister, how does it go?
Good, how are you?
For those who don't know you, who are you?
A regular person who likes to look into politics and write about politics online. So yeah, I have a degree in political science. I used to be a paralegal for criminal defense attorneys, so I have a lot of experience digging through minutia, a lot of detail, looking for things, important things, and then pulling it all together. And so yeah, you mentioned I do campaign finance. That's usually what I do, but with the Matt Gaetz thing, it was a little different. I was spurred to do it because I just got tired of people saying, "Oh, we're gonna have a pedophile as our attorney general," which was just ridiculous. And so I initially wrote the thread to kind of give people something to counter when they heard others. I've had an intro like, when you're going to Thanksgiving with your crazy wine aunt, she's going to be saying this here, give this to her, throw this back at her. And then the day I was going to publish, he backed out. So it was a little different, but that was initially what I was looking for. I just wanted to give people a sound response when they heard that, because I actually liked Matt Gaetz and I wanted to see him. I do like Matt Gaetz in the attorney general spot. So,
and people should appreciate that someone, if he has indeed been the victim of an extortion scheme for various reasons, he would be probably a very good person to have as attorney general, who might have a bone to pick with the system as much as Kash Patel has a bone to pick with the FBI. So I liked him as a choice as well. I do understand that some people had their reservations about him, but some people cling to this sexual predator rumor that sticks. I mean, they still think Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset from a Hillary Clinton smear from 2020. The last time you were on, we talked about, I forget what the name of it was. It's the conservative version of Act Blue. What is
Win Red?
Win Red, that's right. Okay. And so you did amazing work on that. When I was looking at Kamala Harris's campaign finances, I appreciate when I'm not able to properly digest the information that I'm receiving. And I DM'd you and I pick your brain about the contribution refunds that Kamala Harris was getting as compared to Donald Trump. Could you shed something? Are you able to shed some insights on that? I don't know how deep you looked into the Kamala Harris stuff.
So I haven't looked into anybody's campaign finance. I'm not going to do that until next year because we really want at the year end reports to come in. That's when things will get really settled and we'll get a really good idea, because I have a feeling there's actually going to be a lot more that comes in, and it always does. They're literally on the 31st of December. They're going to drop like crazy. And so I haven't looked at them really at all. But yeah, so usually that's a pretty big tell when you see these massive amounts of refunds being done, because you can file for a refund for your donations to a politician, but you have to fill out paperwork, right? You have to actually request it. And so the first thing that ever kind of tipped me off about any of this ghost donor scam was actually I was looking at Tim Scott, and he had about $2 million in refunds that he had given, but some of them were for like 30 cents, 50 cents, $1, $2. And I was like, who does that? Who asks for 30 cents back? Who asks for $1 back, $2? Who goes through number one, why would you even think that you could get that back? Which of course you can, but still. So yeah, I haven't looked into it too much, but come next year, the files are due on January 1st, or actually December 31st, and then give the FEC about 3 weeks to process them. I mean, you can download the raw data pretty much right away, but it's a lot to sift through, and it's hard on your computer. If you want to start doing that, just make sure you have the capacity in your system to do it. I mean, even guys that do this professionally all the time, they burn through computers all the time.
The data that is currently available is able to be downloaded right now, but there's going to be more.
Right. So what's now, I believe, is through the 30th of September. That's what's required. Sometimes they'll do like a mid-run or a mid-quarter update and whatnot. But again, that doesn't have to be final, right? So they can, at that point, they can still just submit what they want to and then submit everything else at the end of December. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I presume it's maybe it's quarterly. I don't know how they actually do it.
It's quarterly. Mm-hmm.
So interesting thing. Not this is general, but Anybody can ask for a contribution refund from a campaign. Is there a time limit within which to ask for that? Is it the year of, or do you know offhand?
I do think it is. It's within the cycle.
Okay. So you can ask for it back. You have to go fill out a form and say, give me my money back, which is why, if I may disclose some of your insights to me, someone who donated $6,600, whatever the limit was, if they're pissed off at, I don't know, Joe Biden lying about pardoning his son, they might say, well, I want my money back from Kamala. And so for $6,000, it makes sense. You go fill out the form, however long it takes, mail it in, and you'll get your contribution back. You file it online, whatever. For the $5 or the $1, because I somebody in our locals community, Encryptus, thank you very much, he downloaded all the data and tallied all of the people, all of the contribution refunds. And there were hundreds in like the $1, $2, $5. And so I'm trying to even understand the rationale, not of an individual who would do it. I don't believe an individual would. What would be the rationale for the fraudulent scheme to try to ask for those micro donations back?
Right. So there's a couple. So one is if they're not trying to trip the system. When we're, amateur sleuths like us, when we are going to download the data from Kamala, anything that's under $200 total. So let's say John Smith has given $199. He gave $1 donation 199 times, right? He would not qualify for his donations to be itemized. All of those wouldn't show up when we go and we click the receipt button and we download the names. But if John Smith goes over another $1 and he gets to the $200 amount, now all of his receipts have to be itemized and they're put into the files. So now we get to download his name, right? So if you're clawing some of that money back because you don't want to show how many bots that you have, that would keep down on people being able to see how many bots they're running. That's one. Another one is just getting the money back. If it wasn't used, then they can claw it back and they can use it elsewhere. So I think those are really the two main ones, is trying to keep the names off of those itemized lists.
Okay, very interesting. And ActBlue, someone explained it was a payment processor. So a payment processor, but was it you, Mel? I don't want to steal a conduit. No, because I had multiple discussions with people in DMs and in real life. I don't remember who told me, because I thought ActBlue was sort of like a solicitation entity. Is it sort of a hybrid? Like they go out and ask for, they solicit donations and they also take a processing fee for conduiting those donations to the candidate.
Right. They're kind of like a Swiss Army knife, right? They do a little bit of everything. And so they are conduits, which means that they collect the money, they hold the money, then they're the go through, the pass between, but they are also the payment processors. So they do get to collect fees there. And then there are potentially other fees. If they are hosting the website, they'll get fees for hosting as well. If they are helping to solicit the donations, right? Like they're the ones running the text messages, they're going to get fees for that. It's a really big operation. And sometimes it's hard if you're looking at how much payment is going to, you have to make sure that you're allocated correctly, right? But yeah, so one thing to really watch is the credit card processing fees, because I've seen fraud with my own two eyes, that they are, claiming that they're paying 50% in credit card processing fees on their joint fundraising accounts, which is, that's not what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing with the money, but they're definitely not paying 50%.
The question I had, I don't know if you know offhand, but so ActBlue will take a payment processing fee for the donations through which they act as a conduit. Someone said they're sort of like a Democrat PayPal. When the contribution refunds go back out, and I think there were 10,000, and I think it was in the millions, but I mean, it wasn't in the hundreds of millions. Do you know offhand, like, does ActBlue reimburse, or do they have to reimburse the processing fees that they charged to act as the conduit for the micro donations? Because my thought is this is a fraudulent way of doing these micro transactions, reversing them, but keeping whatever fee ActBlue would take out of it.
Right. Yeah. I don't know about that. I don't know how that works. Normal refunds, I don't think. I think that the processor does give it back. So I'm not sure.